Well, first, I'd just like to express my deep appreciation to Jerry and Esther and their staff for bringing all this to us. It's just tremendous. And I'd also like to recommend to everyone here to get the CDs from the Caribbean cruise, because it was an unbelievable experience. It was just outstanding. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, is to go further with what we had discussed there. We talked about staying in the vortex and milking it, and I'm working with and playing with different ways to do that and trying to see what works for me. But I'd also like to look at how to do it co-creatively. My wife and I, each morning, we start with our morning meditation, and we've found it's very powerful to do it together. And that's what I'd like to do with the milking being in the vortex. And do you have any suggestions, ideas about how we can leverage this between us as well as with some friends that we get together and work on these?
There's a little bit of a flawed premise in your reasoning. So we want to sort that out first. Good. Because we want to say, first we say, we agree with you that it is more powerful for you for the two of you, when you meditate together. It is more powerful because two of you in the vortex, interacting with one another, both in the vortex, there is a leverage of energy and all of that. In previous conversations, Napoleon Hill referred to it as a mastermind group. But the reason that we want to point out a little bit of a flawed premise is because if you let it be important to you that someone else be in the vortex, since you can't control that, now you're sort of back to square one of trying to influence or control the behavior of another for your benefit, which is really what's tripping most people up on most things. When you realize that the partner with whom you are rendezvousing is the non-physical counterpart of you, and that counterpart or partner is always available to you, and then you demonstrate to those you love, through the clarity of your example, your consistent alignment with that, then of course law of attraction won't even let you consistently. If you're consistently in the vortex, law of attraction must deal up to you others who are consistently in the vortex. Really, if you're in the vortex 90% of the time, and somebody you care about, maybe you work with them or maybe you live with them, is in the vortex 10% of the time, law of attraction's not going to put you together very often. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
So, and when you care about your relationship like you do about your relationship with your wife, what happens is there's a sort of flawed premise dependency that's, in other words, I don't want to drift away from my mate, so let us do this together. But we just want you to care about your vortex and acknowledge when you're there, and appreciate who law of attraction brings to you, who is also there. And don't try to think in terms of leveraging the power of the universe by gathering together, by physically orchestrating the physical numbers of others who surround you. Just get in the vortex first and let law of attraction do that gathering.
Let it happen. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I returned from the cruise with an absolute focus and determination on staying in and milking the experience in the vortex, and it's what's in my escrow and what's in my vortex that's coming to me is just the power is just amazing, and it is addictive.
Well, it's like everything that we talk about. When you make being in the vortex important, and as we talked about in that cruise environment, there's the other side of every wave. So when you know what you don't want, when you sort of know what you don't want, you sort of know what you do want. When you really know what you don't want, you really know what you do want. So this vortex, when you're consistently spending time in the vortex, The opposite side of that wave still exists. In other words, we're not saying get in the vortex and the other side of the wave ceases to exist, because the other side of the wave will always exist. You following us? What we're saying is the more time you spend in the vortex, the better your vortex muscles become. The better able you are to find that. The more law of attraction makes it easy for you to stay there. So the reason we're said all of that in order to lead up to something really significant, and that is, we love it that we've gotten your attention about the vortex, and we love it that you are determined to spend more time there. But having said that, we don't want to make this vortex feel so important that when you're not in it, there's a concern about why I'm not in it, and there's a little bit of that present when you're trying to get other people working on being in the vortex.
Okay.
And it's like you find a fabulous price of the best tires that you've ever used, and they've got a whole warehouse of them, and the supply's not going to last very long. We know why you'd want to call all your friends and tell them you want to get down there and get those tires. And so we understand how the vortex is something that you're really wanting to tell people about. But if you will let it be your own private, individual mission to align with who you are and leverage that power, it is our promise to you that law of attraction will take care of every other detail.
That's wonderful. What I've found is the times when I do get thrown out, I'm just playing with different things to get me back in. And I've tried a number of different things, and I've actually make a game of it. It's just, okay, how about this? How about this? And just these various things. And it makes it fun, and actually that just puts me back in anyway.
And by the time you're there, in other words, what you've just said to us is, I unequivocally believe, I have knowledge of the existence of the vortex. And there's no doubt in my mind that the larger part of me resides there. And now I've shown myself that I hold no risk whatsoever. I can be the sorting, sifting person that I was born to be without running any risk of holding myself for any extent of time away from who I am. So now I am emboldened with the sifting of life. Now I have creative control of my life experience. What you are telling us here is in its entirety the reason that we are here visiting with you. In other words, that is the knowledge that you now hold, that is the basis of everything that we teach.
And we appreciate it so much.
Well, the satisfaction that we feel in recognizing that you got it is unspeakable.
Thank you very much.
You are the one.